Welcome again to the Melancholic Astrologer. Welcome to my channel, the Melancholic Astrologer. Today's talk is the Epistole to a Student in Astrology by William Lilly. Today, I would like to read with you the letter that William Lilly wrote to all students of astrology of all times. I guess to the ones that will be born after him. As a melancholic, I need to be really precise about that. For whom still doesn't get the meaning of melancholy, I need to explain that it's not just sadness. It's a full, category linked to the element Earth and ruled by Saturn. Therefore, it's like a way of living, how you express in the body, the way of your essence, which cannot be translated only by sadness. It includes lots of details that maybe I should go deeper into that in other videos. Anyway, let's get back to William Lilly and his letter to the astrologers of all times, the students of astrology. Okay, it starts like this. My friend, whoever thou art, that with so much ease shall receive the benefit of my hard studies, and dost intend to proceed in this heavenly knowledge of the stars, wherein the great and admirable works of the invisible and all glorious God are so manifestly apparent. Now, beside my accent, I have to point in here one thing, that William Lilly must declare himself a Christian, because he was living along the Hare Lancaster in England. He was born there, he moved here and there, but still, I think the the persecutions against pagans were still pretty really going, and probably he wanted to avoid to get burnt or be hanged. So that's why I think that's why he expressed himself like that. Or maybe the church managed to wash up his brain at the point that he assumed that he was really a Christian, but he accepted astrology. So that's really, I'm really strict about that as a melancholic. And I know there are Christians that accept astrology and blah, 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 and Islamic and Hebrews and blah, blah, but I think the Abrahamic systems of religions basically doesn't have any tolerance to astrology or any kind of occult matter, because you just need to have faith, and that's it. So I made this shortly. My opinion, of course, is just my opinion. But I think that anyway, is William Lilly in this part of the letter is a little bit copying the Arabics, because the Arabics were not reading like the Greeks, for example, or the Babylonians, or the Egyptians, even. The concept was like the God, only one God, was talking to man and manifesting through the stars, and so it's just a manifestation of the perfection of God. Well, but anyway, it's also saying that whoever will proceed in this art, so in the studies of the art of astrology, they will benefit of it somehow. So let's go on. In the first place, consider and admire your Creator, and be thankful unto Him. Be too humble, and let no natural knowledge, or profound, or transcendent soever it be, elate to mind to neglect that divine providence, by whose all-seeing order and appointment all things heavenly and earthly have their constant motion. So, here again is saying to be thankful to God, the Creator, and to be humble, and so on. Well, I think to be humble in this society won't work very much as an astrologer. I mean, I don't want to criticize all my colleagues, or most of them, and actually I even agree with them. I mean, like, it's a matter of social matters. In the other side, it's also a security, because when you get a customer and is posing you a question of whatever matter, or in natal astrology, whatever, it is better to not show yourself too much sure of what you are saying. It doesn't matter if you are saying good or bad, because you never know yet you are saying something wrong. So, as I said, I think it's a kind of security insights. And it reminds, anyway, that divine providence is behind everything. So, let's go on. The more your knowledge is enlarged, the more do magnify the power and wisdom of Almighty God, and strive to preserve yourself in His favor. For the more holy thou art, and more near to God, the purer judgment thou shalt give. Well, here it's saying that basically the more you know, the greatest will be your knowledge, and the better God will see you or treat you. Who knows? But the thing is, again, it's a social matter of his times that he had no choice than express himself like that. And he's very artistic in this anyway. Let's go on. Be aware of pride and self-conceit, and remember how not long ago no rational creature durst offended man the microcosm, and did faithfully serve and obey him. Okay. He says to be aware of pride and self-conceit, and nobody should basically dare to offend. But I mean, it says something like man must obey God or something. That's kind of as a Christian statement, Abrahamic statement, but okay. And we must not be proud of anything, basically. Okay. Great social expression. Let's go on. So long as man was his own reason and passions, or until he subjected his will to unreasonable part, but alas, when iniquity abounded, and man gave the reins to his own affection, and deserted reason. Then every beast, creature, and outward harmful thing became rebellious to his command. So basically, is still describing his religious and social view of the relation between man and God. Let's go on. Stand fast, O man, to you, God. Then consider your own noblesse. How all created things, both present and to come, were for your sake created. Nay, for your sake God became man. That's really, really, really a Christian. So basically, then, to consider our own noblessness, and like all things are created in the past and in the future, for our sake, God became man. So I think it refers to Jesus. Let's go on. Through art that creature who, being conversant with Christ, lives and reigns above the heavens and sits above all power and authority. Who is near Christ, of course. Yes, they got some privilege. Let's go on. How many preeminences, privileges, advantages had God bestowed on you? To reign just above the heavens by contemplation, conceivest the motion and magnitude of the stars, to talkest with angels, with God himself. So it's kind of saying that you are pointing to God, to the angels, because angels bring the word of God. So basically we are talking to God himself. Let's go on. To us, all creatures within your dominion, and keepest the devils in subjection. Do not then, for shame, deface the nature, or make yourself unworthy of such gifts, or deprive yourself of that great power, glory, and blessedness God hath allotted thee. So basically he's reminding his religious view, and that we should keep the devils in subjection and so on. Let's go on. By casting from these favor for possession of a few imperfect pleasures, having considered ye God and what ye self art, during thee being God's servant, now receive instruction how the practice avoid the carried the self. We are imperfect, and we are God's servants, of course. Let's go on. Although daily conversed with the heavens, so instruct and form the mind according to the image of divinity, learn all the ornaments of virtue, be sufficiently instructed therein, be humane, courteous, familiar to all, facile of access, afflict not the miserable. Okay, of course, is saying that daily we may have conversations with the heavens, of course, and we have to train our skills of communicating with the divinity. So we have to learn all the ways, but we have to keep in a certain way. What I have to point in here, that is saying facile access. Okay, I'm Italian, so I understand. We need to be available and not to afflict the miserable. So who is in needs, we need not to afflict them. I think actually, if I think about my colleagues in this time, well, okay, I will comment in another way. But anyway, generally, I of course agree with that, but would agree with anything, not just related to astrology. Let's go on. Let the experience of misery make thee pitiful. Be sober, modest, and humble. Suppress thy lascivious affections, bridle by thy tongue. Refrain thy moderate desires, and let the terror of God's judgment be always before thine eyes. Well, we have to be afraid of the God judgment. We understand that, and so we have to control yourself in a certain ways. Of course, it's all like Christian views. But what I have to say that in here, if the astrologer is gonna be modest, like he says, I think in this time it could be taken like an idiot, and actually, that's what happened to me many times. Sorry. I don't want to say that, but I don't exaggerate, but many times it has been happening. I think William really didn't consider like what like the society could become in time. It doesn't matter, let's go on. In such cases, let men know their hard fate by degrees. Direct everyone how to live well. Be a good example to yourself. Avoid the fashion of the times. Love your own native country. That's really typical of his time. I mean, I understand to be a good example for yourself. I understand, but it is also saying that when men are not, let's say, afraid or consider the judgment of God, then you have to let them know their fate in every detail, the hard ones, the really hard parts. I think if we do like this now, we can get sued. So I understand what William Lilly is saying, and I agree with him. But if we would do anything like that, I think we most likely we will get sued. Yeah, at least we will risk it. So let's go on. And also it says to love their own country. And well, yes, but his conception is very different of what is a country now. It's a long discussion, but anyway, let's say we agree with him because it's nothing actually too important. Let's go on. Exprobate no man, no not an enemy, to be not dismayed, if ill spoken of. Conscientia mille theses, conscience has 1,000 witnesses. God suffer no sin unpunished, no lie unrevenged. I mean, basically is like every Christian is pointing a lot about the conscience of guilt in some sense, I think, and the sin must be punished and blah blah blah. Okay, let's go on. Love good men, cherish those honest men that cordiality study this art. Be sparing in delivering judgment against the commonwealth to livest in. Give no judgment of that of you, prince. Well, if not, this I don't know, but if even not is own contemporary colleagues, like for example John Dee, were following this because they were giving judgment of death, and they did such an extensive work about that. So anyway, let's take just the part. It says to love good people and honest and understand and agree. Let's go on. In your study, no, sorry, I forgot. Yet I know experimentally that regis subsentia legibus stellarum kinga are subject to the rule of the stars. Marry a wife of your own. Rejoice in the number of your friends. Avoid law and controversy. Well, he's saying that the kings are such the rulers of the stars. Well, even other people. I mean, I don't know. I think it just means that the kings like carry on the destiny of their own country, and basically they were saying that. And I just say to us to marry a wife. It says to me, or maybe not. But when it say of our own, it means so we cannot get married with foreigners, something like that. Well, it's a social status of his time. And to avoid the controversies in law, well, of course, everybody wants to avoid normally the controversies of the law. Let's go on. In your study, be totus in illis, all you can be, that you may be singularities in arte, but not extravagant for desirous to learn every science. Be not a liquidit omnus, know a little bit of everything, be faithful, tenacious, betray no one's secrets. Okay, here is saying that the astrologer needs this. I totally agree. This is never changed. We need to know a little bit of everything, but of course, it's not saying that we need to be expert of every science, of course, every matter. That is not saying that, but it's pointed in at least we need to know a little bit of everything. And to not betray the secrets of others, which I think is right. And it's like an advice by no time. Let's go on. No, I charge you never divulge either friend or enemy's trust committed to your faith. Instruct all men to live well, be a good example to yourself. So it's saying to be a good example to ourselves and teach other people to live well. So even in the worst cases, I think when we have really, let's say, not lovely informations in the readings, then we need to help the person to live these things well. I think some colleagues have been trying to do that with me, but they didn't manage because I am the melancholic astrologer. So, William Lilly. This is the Epistole to the students of astrology, but I remember there was something else that was more precise about horary. I think it's the beginning of Christian astrology, but we will get to the text and we will analyze this text together. Now I point again that William Lilly, as astrologer of the Renaissance time, English astrologer of the Renaissance time, he had to declare things in a certain way, and also he had to express his knowledge in a certain way to avoid the stake, to become a stake for the church, I guess. And somehow, in this way, it's closer to our morals. Yes, it is. Because we got through all that, and now it will be even different, but his advices, his basic advices are excellent. Like, he seemed to be available, so there there are certain, I don't know, certain astrologers or whatever, or magicians in his case, that they hide, so people cannot find them. I understand, everybody can do what they want, but it's also taking, it can be discussable, let's say, debatable. Then it's saying to be nice to good people, and if somebody is not afraid of the judgment of God, then you need to tell him the straight and details. Okay, we cannot do that. So, we have to find another way to do that, basically. But I will say that even if it's not judgment of God in pagan, Gentile structure, it would be like the gods of justice, or justice himself, or even, the will of the gods, or whatever. Basically, it's the same. Or even if they doubt the existence of gods, and, we have all these kind of philosophies that avoid the existence of soul, the existence of this and that, and now it's okay. I think nowadays it's kind of like, not everybody has a soul. How can you be in here? So anyway, I think I agree with myself and I say that William Lilly gave basically good advices, and the whole point is that I think the most important was that the astrologer needs to know a little bit about everything, because otherwise it will be really hard to read a chart, especially an horary chart. Imagine to read an horary chart about a law controversy taken to court, and you have no clue how the court is working. Not even basically. You are gonna have a really hard time to read that chart well. So that is just an example, but that's why he advises to know a little bit of everything. But of course, the more we know, better it is. So I thank you for watching, and if you like, follow, and I will continue to complain about everything. Thank you for watching. Melancholic Astrologer. Subscribe and follow.